This with Jerry Arnell right here at the Arnell School of Fine Art. I am so glad you could join me today. And as promised, we're going to start a brand new painting. I know all of you are excited when we start a new painting. It's kind of funny how artists are. We can't wait to start a painting, but then we can't wait to finish the thing. So that's just the way it is in the art world. So we're going to start something today. And remember a few sessions ago, or several TV shows ago, I mentioned that I'm going to try to do paintings from all 50 states. Eventually, that's one of my goals as an instructor here on the program, is to try to eventually do something from all 50 states. So every one of you will have a chance to see something from your own area. And that's what we love: the cards, the letters, emails, and to send subjects in that we can study and look at and find things that are unique to your area. So keep those cards and letters coming. We love to hear from you. And what we're going to do in this particular painting, actually, I've done something similar to this many years ago on the program, but we've had so many calls recently for this that we decided to go ahead and do it again, but a little bit different, maybe a better, more advanced version. And this is going to be up in Oregon. Now, we haven't done anything in that area for this little venture I'm on of all the 50 states, but any of you that have been along, I think it's Highway 80, I can't remember the highway along the Columbia River as you get towards the end of Portland. We used to go up there and teach a lot of workshops. There's a route that's got 7 or 8 beautiful waterfalls, and the main one, as most of you know, called MultinamahFalls. It's really one of the scenic wonders of the world. If you've never been there, you need to go there. I'm going to show you here. I found this book at a garage sale, frankly, and this is the actual falls right here. I'm going to hold it up here where you guys can see this. This is the falls, and it comes down, and it starts way up here at the top, way down, pools down here, hits another area, falls down again, and there's a big creek down here. There's this bridge across this here, and you can walk across that bridge, and on that bridge, you constantly feel that mist falling on you, kind of like that the area around Niagara Falls. When you stand out there, you always feel that mist. This is so awesome. And of course, there's more water coming over at certain times of the year as the snow melts in the mountains. But this is a fabulous, beautiful setting, and I have a lot of you struggle with this kind of thing. So we are going to paint that. Now, I've got my own personal reference material that I took when I was there on several occasions. So I've got my own photographs. It's a good idea, folks, never to copy anything out of a book or a magazine, because you don't want to infringe on any copyright issues. So try to use your own material as much as you can. However, I will say this: things like this is a public place. It's called the main domain. You can paint it if you want to, but it needs to be your own version. So don't copy somebody else's. All right? That's just a kind of little food for thought. Now, what we're going to do here, this is our traditional. This is a stretch canvas. I have coated it with sort of this dove gray, as I've talked to you in the past about, and I've lightly sanded it. So this is going to be our base for what we're going to do. This is going to take about 4 sessions, I think, to do this painting, because there's many layers of different colors with put on here to get those gray greens in the distance and to create the mist. Now, let me show you some of my photos up here. Here's one I took. Here's a couple of versions of those. You can see here. See the mist and the haze back in here, and the beautiful sunlit trees along the edge here, the deeper shadows here. Here's another one that's a little closer up with the bridge. See, this is where the water's a little more turbulent. It's a little bit more vigorous, in the way it's coming over. And that's because it's in the springtime when there's snow melt. And some other times of the year, it's still coming over, but it's just not as heavy. That's one version. Here's another version. This one's a little closer up. And you can see here, it's just a different color scheme. You can see the rock formations a little better. Here you can see just the more vertical waterfall with a little distance. We don't have all the trees around it. So whenever you're doing reference material, I'll show you another one here. I got a close-up of the bridge here. This is kind of cool. See this bridge right here? Now, right below this bridge, it goes down in here, and there's a creek down here. And I'm a big fan of those kind of things. So I was wallowing around in the creek and took this picture of the bridge. And you can walk across there. We'll probably put some people walking on it. And then here's another version of it from a different angle, from one of the decks that they have at the, you might say, the gift center. And so anyway, that's some of the reference material that we're going to use to put this painting together. You're going to have a lot of fun with it. Now, I haven't done much sketching, but I am going to go ahead and take my soft fine charcoal. By the way, I might mention this is an acrylic painting. You can do this in oil. So those of you that are painting, we get these calls every day. I'm all around the world. Well, can I do this painting in oil or acrylic? Yes. The technique's the same. You just have to kind of use that particular, the little things that go on with oil. Like, for instance, you may have to let it dry a day or two, or use some dryers to speed it up before you put the final layers on. But the techniques are almost identical. The palette's going to be the same. It doesn't change. Our brushes don't change. So now you need your soft fine charcoal. And what I'm going to do is I want to have my bridge on the lower half of the painting. So I'm not going to draw the bridge in. I just want to give me a quick idea of where it's at. The lower falls will be right down in here. And I'm going to put a lot of mist. You'll have the large falls up here. I'm going to have the little V shape at the top here. I'll have them get up there. This is going to be important. This is your source right here. This is where the water will come from. And it will come down here on each side. We will have the rock formations. We'll have mist. We'll have the tree leaves. We'll have all those different things. This is going to be really exciting. Okay, now, it doesn't take much. By the way, when you're doing a painting like this, one of the mistakes I've seen that a lot of people make, or a lot of my students make without proper training, is you oversketch. Because these styles of painting, these techniques require so much loose underpainting that you don't really have to sketch a lot. You just get rough ideas of the land contours, the basic locations of the masses, and so forth. So now that you have your elaborate sketch there, it's time to start blocking in and underpainting. So let's refer back to one thing real quick. Let me find let's just go back to the book. I'll have them look closing on this one more time real quick. I want to show you a little value issue here. You can see that the area back here, see it's grayer? It's grayer than the areas up front. So when you look at this, those are the same colors, but they're going to be grayed down versions. And this will be our traditional mix of hooker's green, dioxazine purple, and white to create this gray-green mix. So that's what we're going to work with. So for those of you that have been following the show over the years, you'll know that our traditional mix for your distant greens is to gray it with your purple. And if you don't do that, your greens are going to be too green. And so we've got to keep that in mind. So let's go down here to our palette and take your knife. Just take a large scoop of your gesso out here. To that, take your hooker's green, about half as much, a little purple, and you work this in here, put a little more purple. Okay, now we're going to keep working on this mixture because that's still a little bit too green. So let's watch what we're going to do here. Now, I don't even know if it's the proper value, but you got to start somewhere. So now you just take a little more purple in here. If we want to grade this, isn't this interesting to know how the purple grades that? See how cool that is? That nice gray. I love this color. Just put a little more here because I want to mix the whole batch. So get it all mixed in there. You'll take this and you'll scoop it. There we go. We nailed it. Boy, that's a great color. Now, who would have ever thought? If you weren't trained, you wouldn't think about this. But when I teach my advanced color mixing classes, we throw out all these different color mixes that a lot of people have never heard of before. And it just amazes people. And it's really fun to learn all these things. So let's scoop this one over out of the way. So keep that one in mind for some nice distant gray trees, hooker's green, dioxazine purple, and whatever amount of white you need to get the value. All right, now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to start underpaint. We're going to do a little blocking in on the very top where, you could have a little sky if you wanted. You don't have to have sky, but I'm going to put just a little in there so we get a little depth. Now, you can actually walk up there on top of this, and you can follow that stream forever, and then you can see some of the sky. So what I'm going to do right now is take my number 10 bristle brush, and we're going to take a little gesso. I just want you to start doing this up here at the top. Just take your gesso, kind of down to where you had your little V-shaped lines. Just use the gesso. Just paint it back and forth. Now, you don't need to use your hake brush for this painting. Just mostly just need this one. And we'll put a little color in that. Take a little bit of ultramarine blue. Maybe a little touch of the turquoise steep. Oh, got a little purple in there too. Hey, that's good. Just keep it in there. I'm going to have to pull this up a little bit because there's a little bit of a glare. Yeah, just model this like this. It's called modeling, where you use a combination of different strokes that overlap each other to kind of create some nice soft tones. And also, keep in mind, you want this edge to be very soft along here. Don't make hard lines. So feather, I'm kind of feathering it, is your next layer of paint you want to get on there without it looking too harsh. Now, as you go across here, see how the lightning goes from a darker value to a lighter value? Now, that's not necessarily because it has to do that. It just is more artistic to do that. So when you go across here, I'm just sort of cleaning out my brush. So you go from a darker version to a little lighter area, just kind of muddy up that white a little bit. See how that looks? Yeah, that looks good. Just a little modeling. Okay, now, that's all you got to do for that, because a lot of that's going to be covered anyway with some more trees and stuff. Now, where the falls is going to go, this is kind of interesting. You always underpaint water of this type with a deep mauvish gray. Okay, so now we're going to come down here, and we're going to take your number 10 bristle brush. You're going to take some white. Now, I don't like to mix this with my knife. I just use my brush for this particular thing. So you take your ultramarine blue, a little purple, and a little burnt sienna. Now, that will turn this gray also, but notice it turns it sort of a mauvish gray. See that color right there? Maybe just a little more blue and purple. Come up here where your waterfall is going to go. And see, I'm just kind of filling in the area. Make the area wider than you want it to be, because you'll paint over the edges with your trees. I'm going to make it a little darker, so I just got a little more blue and purple to it. This is just the underpainting. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. If you're joining us for the first time, maybe you've never seen the show before, and you're just sitting here thinking, I really want to try that someday. Well, you've got to be patient with this first lesson of all the new paintings, because all you do is underpaint. This is what we call underpainting, and it's really sloppy. And it's something that all of us have to learn to do. You have to just push through the frustration of it not looking like anything yet. Now, underneath the bridge, if you'll notice here, I'll bring up my reference material here. You can see how the water comes down here. And you can actually see that dark purple tint underneath there, that grayish purple underneath there. That's what we want to put in here. We want to make this part a little darker. So as you come down here, take your blue and your purple and just a little burnt sienna. And the purpose for the sienna is to help it turn it slightly gray. So you have the blue, the purple, and a little sienna. Now this part will be done just like this. And I notice I'm not being careful. There's no reason to be careful. And I've heard a lot of people say, I have a lot of fun with my students. They'll say, well, man, I didn't know how you were going to get out of that mess. But all paintings start off like this, kind of sloppy and kind of not too careful. And then just watch it develop. All right, so there's your basic underpainting for your waterfall, believe it or not. Now, while that's drying, we're going to start to model in the sides where the rock formations are that will be covered with mist and fog and all kinds of foliage and brush and stuff. So this is going to be the hardest part for you guys to do, because it's not going to look like anything. So just take the same number 10 brush. Now you come down here to this gray that you were just using. Now, that we mixed a second ago. You're going to come up here on each side of the waterfall, and you're going to start modeling like this, working it into the edge slightly. See like I'm doing this? Now, folks, this is going to be one of those paintings, if you're watching it, that you're just going to have to trust me, because it looks like nothing's going to happen. But if you've been following the show for many years, or some of you have, you'll know that sooner or later this is going to turn into something. Now, up here at the top, we will have some little rock formations. So I'm going to go ahead and just make some little shapes like that. See, like that? So it'll kind of suggest the shape of a rock for later. modeling it. It's pretty close to the color that we use for the under, for tinting the canvas, frankly. Go on both sides. You can actually put a little of it in the water, so you can create these little, I like to call them little shelves, you know, where the water will come down and hit and come over and follow. Oh, this is so cool. I cannot wait to get to the third lesson. So I'm going to challenge all of you to stay tuned for the next 2 or 3 weeks, and you'll be amazed. It'll be like a little miracle. I will make you that promise. Come on over here. Work your way up, through, across, down. Lots of brush strokes. Now, of course, we have the trees and stuff on the very sides over there, so you don't have to pull it all the way out. But you go out far enough that you got plenty of room to operate later. Might go a little bit further over here. Okay, now we want to go down below the waterfall, and because it's going to get a little closer to it. Now, see, when this waterfall comes down and hits below the bridge, it then hits another flat spot and comes out, so it brings it a little closer. I don't know, a few hundred feet closer. So you take the same grays and you come down here, but at the same time, you start adding a little bit of brown, like the old burnt umber, and a little more blue to it. And see how I'm doing this, folks? You mix on the canvas. And you don't want it that brown, but you just throw that in there, and you add some blue to it, maybe a little more of the gray to it, and you model this now in a darker version. So all we're going to get accomplished, unfortunately, in this particular session, because all we can do in these programs is have 30 minutes. So I wish I could just stay with it so you could see it develop better, but it's just not. So you're going to have to just, again, trust me. But see the little darker values, little brush strokey, so it'll look kind of rocky. Don't smooth it. The mistake almost everyone makes is we smooth things too much. So you're taking all your darker values, blue, the browns, you can use almost anything to get this dark. We're not ready to add too much green yet. We will get to that in our next session. I just want to get this thing underpainted. Hopefully here in a minute we can go up to the top and get a few trees in that are distant. Okay, that's probably all you need for that. Now come over to the other side and you do the same thing over here. Take your darker values, blues, browns, maybe a little purple even, and model this in like this. Now don't try to sit there and paint the perfect shape of the bridge. Just see, I'm just leaving a little area where it's at. Once again, bring some of these darker tones into the waterfall. That will give you some areas to play off of later when we start to put the water falling. You need some darker values to suggest the rocks that are under there. By the way, what's causing that waterfall in the first place is just rock formations. You know, it's just falling over the rocks. This is just fun. This is also good for it because it just makes you loosen up whether you want to or not. And pick up over your gray as you go. Alright, we're just about done. I am going to darken the very base a little bit more with a little more blue and umber. Got to pull this out here a little bit. We're not going to see the bottom of the waterfall because it turns into this little creek. I can't remember the name of that little creek, but there's no sense in us doing that because this just gives you the atmosphere of all this mist and fog here. Alright, that's pretty good for what I want, but just a little bit above the bridge. Alright. Now then. Oh, that looks nice and sloppy. What do you think about that? Now don't tune me out and show up the next time the program comes on because you're gonna be amazed how this changes. Now let's go up here to the top. Now I'm gonna set this down here so that we don't have to crank our neck up there. This little spot right here, this is where we're gonna start our first layers of depth. Now there's not a lot of horizontal depth in this painting, it's mostly vertical, but that's why I put the sky in here so we can get a little of that in there, a little depth. So now let's go to your number 6, or you could use your number 4 bristle brush, either one will be fine. I'm just going to go ahead and use the 6. Now come down here on your palette, take a little bit of this gray that we mixed earlier, take it over to the side, add a little more white to it. And so you're going to change the value. Now I want you to add a little more touch of purple to it. See, that makes it a little lighter gray compared to that. Now let's come up here. Now on the very top, you're going to block in. Now that's a little bit too light, so we're going to darken it slightly. See, that's what's neat about this. You just work right out of it. There we go. That's what I want right there. Just a little bit. So you just come in here, and you're going to suggest maybe pine trees. Just kind of get the suggestion of the little shapes. I'm doing this. And you're going to come all the way across the top here with these nice little formations of tree shapes. Make some short ones, make some tall ones. So I just make a little dab and take a break, turn sideways. Now this is what you call suggestionism. Recently I've been working with several students that I've been able to finally understand and break free from this, not saying that photorealism isn't a great art. It is. It shows your real skill to be able to copy things. But if you're just learning how to block in things, you want to loosen up, you don't need to prove to me or to any of your viewers that that's a pine tree any more than just a suggestion. Because the human mind is smart enough to know once you get them on the road, they know that's a row of trees. So you don't have to make each tree perfect. That's why we call it impressionism. When the French Impressionists started that technique, many, at the turn of the century, they finally figured that out, that the mind was smart enough to know that things that if the eye sees, you don't have to keep repeating it. Just suggest it. Your mind knows that you're in a forest. What do you see in the forest? You see trees. What kind of trees do you see? Well, it could be a pine forest or some other kind of trees, but it's repetitive things. So once you get a few shapes started, your mind knows that's what it is. So that's all you have to do. Let's see, I've got a few things right up here started. Now I'm going to move on over to the other side here. I'm going to make a few darker ones, which will make them come a little closer. So you take your gray, then we add just a touch of green to it, maybe a touch of purple. And we'll make, now this area right here, so I'm going to go ahead and fill in just a little more solid. I'm just going to feather out these edges just a little bit. Once again, folks, this is going to be you just trusting the process more than anything else. Just filling in space. Bring it down, blur it into the edge there. Now, you don't want to make this solid, but you want to almost fill up this space over here just by turning your brush vertically, and just leaving little holes, what we call little sky holes, so to speak. And so see, this now is a little darker than this. So that's value 1, value 2, value 3. And then in a little while, these rocks will pop out. That'll be their 4th values, and then it just gets a little darker as it comes forward. So this is how you begin the process of creating depth in a painting using the value system. I've taught a lot on that over the years. Now we're going back over here on this side to do the same thing. Just kind of fill in these areas using just vertical smudgy strokes. Because we're going to know those are pine trees. Now, I'm not saying you can't come back in a minute and shape them a little better with a smaller brush. I have no problem with that at all. All I'm saying is don't sit there with a little number 2 brush and make it look perfect. You'll take away from the looseness that we're trying to achieve in this painting. So I'll try to have a little bit of freedom here to loosen up. Okay. Ones here. Now, what this has done, I was kind of hoping to get a couple of those distant rocks started before we end the show, so you can kind of see how this is going to develop. All right, now can you see what I've done here? Then we got our darker value and our lighter. Now, right up here on top is where your first layers of rock formation start. So let's switch now to our number 4 chisel edge, synthetic brush. So come down here, take a little white, a little touch of orange, and we're going to make a very dull highlight. Kind of creamy it up a little bit. See how that dull whitish color right there? Now look what we're going to do very quickly before we run out of time, because we're about to. We have to establish a light source. I'm going to say the light's coming in from the right-hand side of the painting. Now, just to give you guys a little confidence, now look what I'm going to do. You take this color, see that little spot right there? We're going to turn that into our first distant rock formation. One here. Take your finger and kind of blur and soften them just a little bit. Now, can you see those rocks developing? Now, this will be our first layer of rocks at the top of the waterfall that we're going to capitalize on in our next session, folks. So here's what we're going to do. I want you to try, if you're trying to paint this painting, try to get it to this point between now and our next session, because I think you're going to be amazed at what you're going to see at the end of our next show. So all I'm going to do now is just kind of suggest a few of these rocks here at the top, and you can have a little fun. See how cool that worked out as a rock right there? This is just amazing. Just make these little highlights like this. I'll stand back and look at that. And one of the things you guys want to remember the old saying, don't line them all up in a row like a herd of turtles? Well, that's one thing you want to watch out for here. So make sure each of those rocks have their own little basic concept of shape and form, then it'll all look alike. So a couple more up here. Let's go down like some here. Maybe I can make one that's, now obviously you're going to have some rocks that have a similar shape. But if you take your finger and blur it like that, that's how you can get the forms. Now remember, in between these rocks, there'll be mist, there'll be a little bit of fog and haze and all kinds of things going on here. Well, folks, as usual, we're about to run out of time. Man, I wish we didn't have to end so quickly, but at least we got started, and you're starting to see how cool this painting's going to be. So I hope you have a little fun getting yours started. And next week, we are really going to take this to another level. I want to thank you for joining us today on another session of Paint This, and we'll see you again real soon, I promise. God bless you. Stay inspired. I'll see you again real soon.